If you don't know something in your business, then make sure like you have someone on your team that knows that really well.
So welcome, Teresa.
Thank
and thank
you
you so much for being here on an episode of Owning Your Legacy. Really excited to have you.
Thank you.
So I would love you to just start with your amazing story.
I grew up in Texas and in Fort Worth, and I came to Chicago in 96 for college. I went to University of Chicago and majored in economics and statistics.
Oh, that's easy.
Yes.
Right? No problem.
Yes, very easy.
That's
and
impressive.
something boring. I did my 4 years of college. And then when I graduated, I went on to do investment banking. So I did investment banking at Bear Stearns. And then for about a couple years in the Chicago office, mostly covering consumer industrial companies. Mm-hmm. And then I went on to work a couple years at Golder Rauner, which used to be our former governor's private equity firm. So I worked there for a couple of years, and then I finished my financial career at Credit Suisse. So I worked in equity research on the sell side, covering actually consumer product companies, food service, and then food retail, not even thinking I would ever go into food. So I did about 6 years in finance. And then one day, I was up for a promotion, and one of my, there was like 20 of us for promotion, and 3 of us were women, and we didn't get promoted. And
not any of you.
None of the women. And so even though some of us were ranked higher than our male colleagues. So long story short, I was in the New York office. One of my friends was making cupcakes, and watching her sift that powdered sugar, which I've never baked before, looked therapeutic. It was kind of like that, just snow melting or, coming down from the sifter. And I was just like, can I try that? And she's like, sure. And I was like, wow, I think I want to go to pastry school. That was
From
kind
a
of
sifter. And I kind of get it. Like, that is therapeutic. I know what you mean.
It was just kind of like that sifting motion.
When you got passed over, the other women, did they know that was why you were leaving? Were you honest? Yeah. So how did that go?
Yeah. I mean, I did tell my managing director at the time, and of course I was in equity research. So I like had all this research and data and all this stuff, because there were a lot of criteria that you had to, you had to get your level 1 CFA and all this stuff. When I left Credit Suisse the first time, my boss left. And so I was forced to move to New York. So I decided to leave the firm and for a brief stint and moved to another company. And I think they didn't like that. So when I came back to Credit Suisse, you get vetted by a senior person randomly. And the person that I got vetted with was the managing director of an entire equity research department. So I think because I left Credit Suisse, they weren't happy about that. So anyways, long story short, when I confronted him, he just said, you just didn't deserve it. And so it's not about deserving. It's about like what the criteria are for a promotion. So that's basically what happened.
But at least you were brave enough to say it.
Yeah. And
that's
so
all you can do.
Yeah, exactly. And they were like, you can wait till next year. But I think I just mentally could not do that. I mean, I had already worked my butt off, trying to get promoted. And I was just like, I think there's a different calling for me. So when I found out that news, I was in New York at the New York office at the time. And my friend was making those cupcakes, and I mean, that was just kind of like my aha moment. And I went back to Chicago and started buying a bunch of cupcake books and just started researching how to make cupcakes. I started making cupcakes, bringing them to the office. I pretty much think my boss thought I lost my mind. And I really just enjoyed baking, Funny story is I've never baked before. And when the first time I baked, they asked for, flour, sugar, and vegetable oil. And I was like, I don't have vegetable oil. I was like, I have olive oil. So I made my first cupcake, red velvet with olive oil. And it was like the densest cupcake ever. And so
that's funny.
I was like, okay, I think I need some formal education here. So I started looking at pastry schools. They had some in Chicago, like French pastry, Kendall, and then, Le Cordon, all over you can go to Paris, you can go to New Zealand, Japan, anywhere. So I was like, let's go to Paris,
Why not?
I know, exactly. So I gave my boss like a 1 month notice. I'd finished earnings season, and then I left for Paris in November of 2006. So I was in Paris for a couple months.
Did you love Paris?
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, it was just,
Did you watch Emily in Paris?
Yes. But my life was not like that.
Not
I
like Emily?
no. I did not have all the cool wardrobes and no Gabriel.
Yeah. Darn.
I know. So I love that show. But I was in Paris for about 2 months. They had a kind of a condensed course where you're there for only 2 months, but it's like 4 months. So squash that down. So when I came back to Chicago, I was like, I really want to open a bakery. So I started like looking at, like what the landscape looked like in Chicago. I mean, there are a lot of neighborhood bakeries, but nothing in the Loop. And I worked and lived in the Loop. So I was like, I think there's an opportunity for me to, open a bakery in the Loop.
And I heard you saying on one of the podcasts that I listened to that how your econ major helped so much at this point because you're like, I know how to do competitive landscape. I know how to do a business plan.
Yeah. So that definitely, I mean, when I went to go get a loan, I mean, I prepared like a pitch deck. I'm pitching myself why you should give me money, and so
they probably don't see that often.
No, they were like, this is pretty impressive. And it's funny, I got my first loan like over 16 years ago. And I just met up with the banker that gave us the loan at Harris Bank. And she was telling me, she's like, I was one of the only loans that were going into play, because that was right before the recession and they weren't giving loans. And for my sizable loan, which was, I think, close to $200,000, so it was pretty amazing. I didn't even know that.
So that was like 2008?
Yeah. Right, or 2007, 8. Yeah.
Right around then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So I got a SBA loan with Harris Bank and, opened the store. But I mean, in between, once I got back from Paris, I was just business planning, looking at retail spaces. I kept getting beat out by other national chains, not just bakery, just like food in the Loop. Nobody wants to take a chance on a business that doesn't have an existing business. You know what I mean?
Right. And I talk about like your resourcefulness, I think is beautiful. Before you literally opened the bakery, what you were doing was like old school. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I was testing recipes. Of course, like I was like, I can't eat all these cupcakes by myself. And then I'm like, I need other testers. And so I lived in the Loop in a condo building that had about 200 units. And I, put a little sign up saying, I'm looking to open a bakery, need cupcake testers. We're testing once a week. I mean, there was only 2 bulletin boards, one like by the garage and one by the gym. So why not put it at the gym? And so we got testers. And
Did you get it? I mean, I would imagine people would be like, hell yeah, I'll test your cupcakes.
It was so funny. Like the first time the first week was like maybe like couple. And then by the end of like 8 months.
Spread.
Yeah, word spread. And I mean, I had like a wait list, I was like, sorry, I'm only making 2 dozen cupcakes this week, So, I mean, it was good. Like they would fill out a survey, like, how is this cupcake? How is this frosting? Like any feedback, like it was good to get that, feedback,
Right.
So tested cupcakes, was looking at retail spaces in the Loop, business planning, figuring out like, what do I need to do? Like set up an LLC, where do I buy my packaging? Where do I buy my ingredients? Just all that stuff. I even worked part-time at a little bakery up north just to get some experience,
Good idea.
Yeah, I was like at minimum wage, so, I mean, it was just good just to, I did that for about 10 months. And the first location I looked at was at the Monadnock building, which is, I don't know if you know, there's like Jackson and Lake. Okay. No, Jackson and Dearborn, sorry. Okay. So it was kind of on the outskirts of the Loop. It wasn't my favorite location, but the landlord was willing to give us an opportunity. It used to be an ice cream parlor, so minimal build out, but the traffic, I was kind of like, I don't know. So we started negotiating the lease. And then it's because it's a landmark building, the landlord really wanted control of the design. So instead of, like a tile floor, he wanted hardwood floor. Instead of like track lighting, he wanted, pendant lighting. So it started becoming not my bakery, and so I had to walk away from that space. So now
Maybe
I don't have
meant to be though.
Yes, definitely meant to be. So, but at the time I didn't think it was meant to. I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm like already spent, like all this time negotiating a lease and now I'm just need to walk away, And so, I found another space, but of course it takes forever to negotiate. So by the time I'd already like set up the menu of the Sugar Bliss, what we're offering, the pricing, and I knew that catering was important. And so I was like, I'll just have to launch the catering business without doing a brick and mortar. Mm-hmm. So in October of 2007, I launched the catering side of the business, focusing on mostly corporate clients, also hotels. I literally kind of did the old salesman method and brought 4 boxes of cupcakes and brochure and like walked on the east side of Michigan Avenue one day and then on the west side. And we were able to get some house accounts with a couple of the major hotels that, either didn't have a
just from that day.
Just from that. Yeah.
Wow.
I know. Just they were willing to give us a chance or give me a chance. And so, yeah, I mean, we did, like the hotels changed, but it used to be Hotel Saks. And, we delivered cupcakes for like Spice Girls and Kanye West, so it was kind of exciting.
Did you get to meet any of them?
No, but I was invited to the Kanye West concert. However, because my staff at the time were like crazy about them, I gave him one of the tickets. So
yeah, sweet of you.
I know. So
that was very giving of you.
Yeah. So we did a lot of like cool like events. Like we were on. We did when Top Chef Desserts launched. We did the food truck with them and stuff. So we got to do a lot of things that I would never have gotten had I was in finance. So,
and then you met Oprah's
part. Yeah.
How did that happen?
So again, it's just kind of like you, as a startup business, you don't have a lot of extra capital for PR and stuff. So, there was the wedding channel, The Knot, and, all the wedding planners are listed there. So I was like, I'm just going to form my own database. So I just formed a bunch of emails and I just sent a big cupcake picture and I said, Sugar Bliss is opening a retail store, would love to drop off some samples. And Debbie Lilly, who was Oprah's party planner at the time, just emailed back.
We all need a party planner.
I know. Exactly.
What a fun job.
I know. Exactly. And being Oprah's party. Yeah. So she reached out and she's like, she had a location in Lincoln Park. And she's like, just drop off some sweets and stuff. And so we did. And she put us on TV a couple times, even before the store opened.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, we did something for.
I think like lessons for listeners is how creative and to just try stuff, and especially like you said, without a big budget, you just got really resourceful and creative on how to get the word out.
Yeah. So zero money. I mean, just your time, and so I mean, even when we launched the store. When I finally opened in January of 2009, again, I have no PR budget. I paid someone to write a press release. I think it was like $50 at the time. She was a copywriter. And I just submitted that to like all the publications out there, and Chicago Tribune picked it up, Daily Candy, which was a popular publication at the time. I think Time Out Market, like we got a bunch, and that was free, just my time, So you got to be resourceful when you're like a small business, and I still feel like we're a small business, I mean, but we're growing. So yeah. So we opened in January 2000, finally opened the retail store in January 2009.
Which was still a rough economy time.
Yeah. I mean, I opened like January 5th. So that is, we're in 2009. So we're in recession. It is Chicago winter, and now everyone's Valdoff Suites for the next 2 weeks. So I was like, oh gosh, and I mean, at that time I was like, we just got to open. Like I had all the
You've been waiting so long. It was like, it's time.
Yeah, exactly. So again, like, we were supposed to open before Christmas, but contracting to delays and stuff like that. So we opened January 2009. I didn't know what to expect. I mean, we had all that PR. People were coming into the store. I had been doing like pop-ups before we opened the store, so we already had a following. We had no social media was not there at the time. Right. I mean, no Facebook, no Instagram, nothing. I couldn't even have influencers, not a thing. So, so we opened, and we did well. I mean,
What was it like the first day when you literally opened your doors? That must have been so exciting.
Yeah, it was just like, is this really happening?
Is anyone going to come in?
Yeah, I mean, and then I remember Valentine's, like that's like the busiest holiday for us now, but we sold out like at 12, and I was like, should we bake off? What should we do? Should we just close the doors? Like I don't even know what to do, because I had never experienced that mad rush. I think we baked off a little bit more, but we did close, and I was like, okay, next year we're not closing early. We're just gotta, and you learn,
But there's almost something to that in a marketing perspective that we sold out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
That's a good, that's a good problem to have. So, yeah. And so, when I opened the store, we just had cupcakes. We had regular size and mini size cupcakes. We had over 20 flavors. We had, our everyday flavors, and then we had our daily flavors, and then we had some like seasonal flavors every week or every month. And then over the years, we added so many more cupcake flavors. Then in 2011, I, opened a pop-up location in River North for a little bit, added cake pops, we added macaroons, we added brownies, cookies. So by the time I opened a second store in 2016, which is where we are now at the Palmer House, and that opportunity was kind of random too. Like I wasn't even looking for another location. The landlord at the Palmer House came to me and was like, we're looking for something in this space that's been empty forever. And I was like, oh, I don't know. It's so close to the other Sugar Bliss because they're both on Wabash.
Okay.
One was on the east side. Our original was on the east side. This one's on the west side. And it's only 3 blocks away. And I'm just like, I don't know. I'm like, okay, so we're going to have to call this one Sugar Bliss Cake Boutique, and this other one will be called Sugar Bliss Patisserie. Because when I first decided I wanted to open a bakery, I wanted to open like a French-esque, patisserie with croissants and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, I went to pastry school for 2 months and I have 6 years of finance. Let's be smart about this. Let's focus on one category and be good at that category versus doing everything.
That's great advice right there.
Yeah.
As you're talking about the different and how many SKUs you had, I'm wondering if that ever got too far, like too much of a tail in terms of too many items to manage.
It's funny because we kind of built it, we did cake pops and then we added macarons. We have like pulled back some flavors. You can't take any of your products personally. So like, there's
Can't
some
fall too in love with your baby.
Yeah. So it's like, we're like, okay, the coconut ones don't sell. So let's like not sell
love
those.
Coconut.
We still have coconut cupcakes, but yeah, the cake pops, it's just, so instead of we just didn't have it in a rotation, but you can pre-order it. You know what I mean? So it's like some things that we just had to scale back on, and we still have over 200 products and flavors.
Right.
We just,
And you have to keep track of your portfolio management. We all do.
Yeah, exactly. Like what sells. Yeah.
What sells and what people like. And because the tail can get you.
Exactly.
And so I thought that you opened one that you had to close around COVID.
Yeah. So the original store was at 150 North Wabash, and that was across from Macy's. And so even before COVID, our lease ended in 2020. And so before that, I even said, when I opened the 2 stores, what I was afraid of was cannibalizing, and I did.
Yeah.
So even before COVID, I decided not to renew that lease. When I first started, our real estate taxes were like $100 a month. By the time I left, it was like $1,300 a month. Wow. And so I was like I shouldn't have both stores. You know what I mean? Even though it was hard, that was our original store. We'd been there for 12 years,
Yeah.
But I was like, we're spending so much on rent there. Like it was almost $9,000 by the time we left for 900 square feet, And so.
And you were saying, and I thought this is like, it sounds so simple to see, but you were like, I'm making the same amount of revenue.
Yeah.
And with,
double expenses.
Double the expenses.
Yeah.
And just really knowing break even. I think for emerging people that want to start their own business, it's so important to know your P&L.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we were making money, but not as much as we were beforehand with just one store, and double the personnel issues.
And that's
all that stuff.
Not to be underrated.
Yeah, exactly.
Either.
Yeah, just finding good people, and I was just like, I kind of want my life back, and so because I'm 100% owner, like there's no partners and no one else to manage the stores.
And I'm sure you got to go, why am I putting myself through this for what gain?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a wise choice.
Yeah. So what was kind of, I don't know if it's interesting that happened was in my original store, we all of a sudden had a power outage only in my store. And it was
in the whole neighborhood.
No, just my store only. Yeah. It was like, and we were out for a whole month. So we had to merge our store. This was like October of 2017.
What happened that it was out for a month?
So I think there was so much construction on Wabash. Something happened under, like the electrical closet is underneath the building and not even in my unit. So underneath our building. And I think something got shorted in the underwires. Like, I don't know. The landlord was saying like, it's your fault. And then I'm like, no, it's your fault, they were trying to blame me saying, well, it's your contractor. But I'm like, I've been here for 10 years. Like, how can it be my contractor? Like, it's something like in the building that happened, So the stressful part was that. And like, oh my gosh, we're going to lose business, whatever. And the funny thing is we probably only lost a little bit of business because everyone just went to the other store. And then I realized.
So that was a great foreshadowing to closing.
Yes.
Like meant to be.
Yeah, exactly. And then, what I always tell people, there's this acronym like, well, you never want to go to jail, but if you do go to jail, you want to make sure you have bail. And I'm like, I heard someone say that, and I'm like, what does that mean? And they say you want to make sure B for banker, A for accountant, I for insurance, and L for lawyer. And so I had an insurance company that when I signed them on, I said, make sure I'm covered for everything, even if there's a volcano, whatever, and I didn't realize I had business interruption insurance, but not off premises. And so because this electrical was outside of our store, they wouldn't cover it. I had a fight with them. So anyways, we finally got it covered as equipment breakdown, but it made me also realize like, okay, who are the key people of those that I need to have in place for these incidences?
So Teresa, explain how you how you went from the bakery and the catering into the retail space.
Yeah. So COVID happened, and I kind of went back into starting my business again. So I had to lay off all my employees because most of our corporate business just went away,
That's so true. Yeah. That must have been hard.
It was kind of like no one was down the loop, and so. Did
you stay open?
Yeah, we stayed. Yes.
It was just
Sugar
you?
Bliss. Yes. Wow. So I literally was, we knew COVID was coming, like we knew things were going to impact our business. We had a plan A, B, we just didn't have a plan Z, and so, when I was like, I'll just keep one store open, and we kept the original store open. All my employees, I had like 15 at the time. I had to lay them all off, but I made sure that they were on unemployment. Yeah, exactly. Taken care of. But yeah, so it was just me, and there was no warning like, okay, stop buying flour and sugar and whatever. So I was like, well, we have all this stuff. I might as well just, keep producing just minimal of it. So I went back to like square one. It was like baking again. So
and who was walking through the door at that time?
People that lived around there, because there was like still like residential. Yeah.
Oh, they probably really appreciated that you stayed open.
Yeah. No,
we all
and they
needed
came
cupcakes during COVID.
And they came and supported Sugar Bliss and stuff like that. But yeah, they came. There might have been like 20 customers a day. It wasn't that much, Yeah, so COVID hit, and I was trying to figure out what am I going to do if no customers ever come back to the store? How do I get the Sugar Bliss name out to everyone's still going to the grocery store, drugstores and stuff like that? So a major airline came to me and was interested in our brand and product, and they liked everything, but the only thing is we couldn't have the 9-month shelf life that you need to for retailers. So it got me starting to think about how to make something of our, we have 20 or 200 different products, what can be shelf stable. And so, cupcakes is pretty hard, I was like brownies, that might be a little challenging, but cookies, So, we have over 20 different flavors of cookies, and I picked the most popular ones, and started, thinking about how do I make those shelf stable. I started working with a, food scientist company. And then Women's Business Development Center, they have programming, and one of them was the top shelf. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like it's, how to get into retailers, learn about mass retailers and stuff like that. Not even having a product, it was just more like a learning.
Right.
Because I had all this time during COVID, right? So I enrolled in the program. It was an 8-week program. It was sponsored by Walgreens. It was everything from like, how to pitch your company to, best practices on price, everything,
Right.
So there was about 25 of us. All different types of companies, not just food, and
because they're looking for anything that can go into Walgreens, probably,
or anything
right?
that can,
or any
like
retailer,
yeah, because they also had True Value as a at the end you pitch for a couple minutes, and they had True Value, Peapod, and Walgreens, and some couple other buyers, that were
that's a cool
interested.
program. That sounds good. Do they still do that?
Yeah, they do it every year. I think they're right now in their like 4th or 5th cohort.
Nice.
Yeah, so 4 weeks into the programming, the cookies buyer reached out to me at Walgreens and was like, do you have cookies? Like, we know cookies sell. And I was like, yes, I do have cookies. I just don't have anything ready for mass market. And so, and the great thing about Walgreens is we're willing to work on my timeline. Nice. So I was like, when do you need this? And I don't know if it's fortunately or unfortunately, but with food, you have to get your facility certified and audited. So
It's good.
Yeah, yes.
It keeps us
all
safe.
It's good. But it allowed, GMP,
which is good manufacturing practices.
Exactly. But that allowed me a little bit more time to like develop, because I mean, it's not like, you can just, and we had never done GMP audit. I mean, the only thing is, the annual Chicago Health. So we did the GMP, and I mean, me and my pastry chef created this 500 HACCP food safety plan, and we passed in January of 2022. Yeah. And
so you make the retail products in the bakery?
Yes, right now.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're only in 25 Walgreens right now. So, but yeah, we got GMP certified in January, finalized the packaging, but there's all this like delays.
Packaging is so cute.
Thanks. Yeah.
I love it.
But there's always like delays in onboarding and stuff like that. So by the time we onboarded and finalized everything, we launched August last year. So
almost a year. Coming up on a year. And how's it been? It's been
great. Yeah.
Good.
So we're in 25 Walgreens. And actually, I just found out a couple weeks ago. So Walgreens is part of a program with Chicago United. It's a not-for-profit. And other like Chicago-based headquartered organizations like Kraft, Mondelez, like there's a lot of companies that are a part of this group. And so the program is called 5 Forward. And so they invest in 5 companies, not financially, for the next 5 years to grow them. And so we got picked by Walgreens. So
congratulations.
So we'll be with Walgreens for the next 5 years.
That's huge.
Trying to come up with a strategy on how to grow and be like, right now we distribute to the stores, but we are trying to get into their DCs for, nationwide, because they have 9,000 stores.
Mm-hmm.
So
what's DC? Is that the
distribution center?
Yeah. So then you ship to those and you don't have to deal with
logistics. And then yes. So it's right now I'm trying to figure out from our co-packer to those DCs. Yeah, exactly.
So then you would obviously not be able to make out of the bakery. You need a co-packer.
Yeah. So fortunately, my team at the store have been awesome, and just, it's funny, like you come to Sugar Bliss and you would not think we churn out these cookies along with everything else we do, so out of our 900 square feet.
I bet it's like they say that about restaurants too. And I've just like in college worked at one, but like the back of house and front of house, the front of house looks all calm and zen, and then the back house, everyone's like running like crazy.
I mean, our kitchen is super small. Like I remember when the auditor came, he was like, "This is it?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Okay, this will be a shorter day.
This will be a quick audit."
Yeah. So we just did our second year GMP audit, which was, fine. So
You really wear every hat, lady. I know. You wear every hat.
Somebody asked me, "Hey, can you have your social media post?" I was like, that would be me right now. I'm like trying to remove that hat. I was like, email marketing, that's me. Website, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, audit, that's me.
I know.
Supply chain, that's me.
I know. I think I have multiple bullets. Yeah.
What would be advice that you would give to somebody that wanted to start their own business, like in terms of that?
It's good as a business owner to know most 90% of your business. I mean, or and 100% either have someone else that knows that part, I mean, again, COVID happened and I had to ring up customers. I mean, I had to make macaroons. I had to make product. I had to ship. I knew all facets of my business, I mean,
that's true.
Not all business owners would know, some people
even
that
how
own
to
restaurants.
use the cash register.
Yeah, exactly.
And macaroons look really hard on your social media to make.
Oh, yes.
I've never made a macaroon, but they look really hard. Yeah.
Trust me, the first couple batches.
That's coconut macaroon is my favorite.
You should have told me. I would have brought some.
Welcome stuff.
Yeah. I mean, like if you don't know, just have good people on your team. You know what I mean? Like I have a good store manager. I have a good pastry chef, so if you, I mean, obviously I know those parts of the business, but if you don't know something in your business, then make sure like you have someone on your team that knows that really well.
That's good advice. That's so true. And even if you just lightly know all those aspects of your business, you don't have to be like the expert at it, but I agree with you. The more like cross training you can do and get a sense, and then you get a sense of what your people are going through.
Yeah. And even at our store, everyone's cross-trained, like the back of the house to come, they know how to answer phone call, if the front of the house is busy, the front of the house know. I mean, they don't know how to bake everything, but like my front of the house manager, she has pastry experience. So like she knows how to scoop cupcakes if someone is sick that day, so it's good to know, especially when you have like under 15 people,
Yeah. I would love to hear you talk a little bit more about, Women Business Enterprise National Council, which is WBENC.
Yes.
and the importance of certification.
So the funny thing is, we've been in business since 2007, and I always under the assumption that certification was for government contracts. I didn't know, it's just, you can do it, we do a lot of corporate business, and so I was, I didn't know that. And so we got certified, both minority and women in 2017. So only,
Couple years,
6 years. Yeah.
Feels like yesterday.
I know, exactly. And so I would tell all businesses, if you are 51% of minority or women, get certified. It does open a lot of opportunities. And, that's why, we're in Walgreens, that's one of the opportunities.
Walgreens is definitely a supporter of diversity.
Yeah. Yeah. And, also on Top Shelf, they introduced us to this, program, called ECRM, and I forget what it stands for, but that's where a lot of the buyers from retailers go on that platform, and they can do searches for women-owned, veteran-owned and stuff. And so we've gotten a lot of retailer meetings in that. And so last year around this time, Compass Group, we met with them, and they were, this is a 5-ounce package, but they're more, food service, so they want a smaller size. So we're actually launching a snack size, which is 2-ounce cookie, into Compass at the end of the year. So, and that opportunity also came because we're women and minority owned, so if you can be certified in those,
I agree with you. And it is, you have to learn. It's gotten easier though.
Yeah.
It's gotten more automated.
Right. The portal. And
I was a certifier for a while.
Oh, really?
That is kind of fun.
Yeah.
And it was before the portal. So we literally would get a file, they'd hand it, there would be a bunch of us just sitting around in a room, and you go through the files and you have to, check stuff off, and you're looking at people's W-2s, and it's strict. I think that's an important aspect is that you can't fake this.
No.
They come in and they check out that you're truly the one running.
Right.
I remember them asking me inventory levels. They want to know your
really?
P&L.
Yeah.
Which is good though. It's good for us because it keeps it clean.
And, exactly.
And trustworthy.
Yes.
So, but I agree. It's worth the effort. And I know you believe in this too, of helping entrepreneurs that are going down either of the routes, but we started this thing called It's Not Just Dinner. I don't know if I mentioned that to you at all, but my girlfriend Brooke and I, so during COVID, when there was no WBENC meetings anymore, we started this just really, it was cocktail hour on Zoom calls. Then it evolved. We had a DJ, we had breakout rooms, Zoom.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
It was so fun, and we all needed it. And so now that there's live meetings again, it's really it's a place where, especially women, their first time going to a WBENC meeting is, I went alone.
Oh, wow.
Overwhelming, 30,000 people the first time I went. It's so they come in, and it's nice to have a dinner before and have a couple friendly faces. And it turns out to be 70 people at these dinners now, but at least somebody when you're on the floor. And then there's connection between women-owned businesses. I've definitely hired a lot of you like to support as well. It doesn't always have to be the big corporates like Pepsi and Nestle, and even though we love those.
Yeah.
And there's not that many food. There's so many service companies and marketing companies and HR companies. So food is almost its own little world there, which is kind of fun.
It is. Yeah.
So
definitely. I tell people to get women and minority certified if you can. It's opened a lot of catering opportunities, McKinsey, Chase, Kirkland Ellis, they all support Sugar Bliss because we are, women, and they are calculating, how much of their business they want, I don't know what the number that is, but let's just say it's 30% of their business they want to. A lot of businesses big businesses are now having a certain amount of percentage they want to support.
I had Michael Byron on the podcast a couple times ago, but he was the supplier diversity for Walmart. When under his reign, the CEO said, I'm going to get this wrong, billions, 500 billion? It was some crazy number that they had to get, from women-owned businesses at Walmart, and he surpassed it by $1 billion.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was a huge number. I think it was 500 billion, but so I would love to. I'm going to connect you with him. He just knows everybody, even though he's retired. He knows everybody.
That's awesome. Yeah,
I can see you in Target. I can see.
Yeah, we've met with a lot of retailers. It's with cookies. It's a very retailers, it's very challenging. You know what I mean? It's very competitive. Again, if you go to the grocery aisle and you look at cookies, Oreos has 4 feet, and then Chips Ahoy at 4 feet, and then there's a little bit of Pepperidge and stuff. It's very competitive, and that's why we're looking at additional markets like food service, that, and maybe touching base with the airlines again. So
that sounds good.
Yeah. But the cool thing also with the packaging is if you read our story, because I feel like I wanted to talk about my story on a little bit. I told my designer, do not put my face on there, but I said you can put a little bit on Sugar Bliss. So there's a little caricature of stuff of the city, but we donate
dots. Dots are like crack. They're the pretzels.
Oh yeah,
that are so good.
Those are good
too.
The
whole.
Yeah,
I can eat a whole bag
they're
of them.
flavored pretzels.
But I love how it has her story.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's wise.
Yeah,
you gotta use what you have.
Right. Yeah, we looked at a bunch 2 years ago. My intern probably had the best job. She just bought a bunch of cookies, and we looked at packaging, and we're like, everything looks boring. It's just red and blue and one color and stuff. And so I was like, I want something to pop. So that's why it pops. And then I was like, I think that consumers now look at the bag and they turn around and see, if there's a story or anything like that. And so, the great thing is a portion of the proceeds go back to support women and minority businesses. And so we just gave out.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So we just gave out.
And how do we know that? I mean, I don't have my glasses on, so there's that. I'm totally blind.
No problem. Yeah. So
that's great. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and we just
and I think consumers now, that's really important.
Yeah, exactly. So women minority owned is on the front of the bag, and our certification's on the back, and you can read about our story. But being certified has been so important for me and getting more business and stuff. And so we just partnered with the WBDC to give out 25 scholarships to women businesses that are under 500K in sales and have never been certified. So
I want to join you in that.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely.
I think that would
Mara
be really
does
cool.
it too.
Oh,
yeah,
I love Mara.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
So Teresa, do you have any advice for people that are considering starting their own business?
Wow, there's a lot. We probably have to do multiple episodes.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I said do your homework. Whether it's, obviously I have experience in brick and mortar, be patient, go with your gut. If you find a retail space and you're like, I don't know if this is, location's super important. Even in Walgreens, where we're located in the store. So if you're a retail store, find a good location. It'll be your cheapest part of your expenses. If you have a really great location, you will do well. You know what I mean? If you have a really bad location, it doesn't do well.
And it could do everything right, and exactly. It still won't work.
Yeah, even the Loop, there's pockets that are better than others. Network. Let people. And think outside the box. Obviously owning a bakery. It's walking customers, but I was like, I want to go after the larger clients. And so
you went out of the bakery to get there.
Yeah,
you took your product out. Yeah. I think that could work for a lot of people's ideas, I feel like.
Right. Yeah. And I was like, let's not just do regular cupcakes. Let's do mini size so that people can try a little bit and not feel like it's overindulgent. I would definitely say even now, with this packaging, we could just only be in retailers. But I was like, let's go after a different market, like food service. There's not as much competition in cookies, and it's a little bit easier to maneuver around that. So I would say, whatever business, think outside the box on where to get your clients.
If someone wants to start their own business and they don't know how to do the P&L like you do, that I would say, find someone that can help you with that, because that is so important. To
know your numbers.
Know your numbers. Know your budget.
Yes.
Know your break even.
Yes. Yeah.
I learned that young at Edlong. The break even is the number one number you better know.
Exactly.
That's what you live or die by.
I always harp on any young entrepreneurs. I'm like, okay, so it costs this much. Walk it back. How much are you really making? Numbers is the because as entrepreneurs, we're passionate about what we do, but it's do we make money? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And the fortunate thing is, I guess, because I was in finance, I was like, we have to make money day one. And so we've been fortunate, but and if you don't know that, there are so many resources out
that
there.
Will help you. Absolutely. I think so too. I know my friend called you that she's, Tiffany Collins. She's doing, just one more bite. And, but she admittedly said, I didn't know the numbers. And she enjoyed talking to you.
I was like, I'm not trying to, I was like,
you got to start there.
I was like, you need to charge higher. I was like, this is, handmade artisan. Yes. I think hers is like gluten-free or something like organic.
Cheesecake.
It's organic and vegan. And I was like, they can pay $15 for the cheesecake slice.
Exactly. And they're delicious. I mean, they really
I know. And then she sent me a picture of it and I was like, yeah. I was like, this is a 3 serving. I was like, yeah, they're going to pay up. So yeah.
Exactly.
And the best, this is the thing. You can always start out of a price. And if it's not moving, 10% off. You know what I mean? Everyone loves the deal.
And oddly, the more you charge, sometimes the more appealing it is to customers.
Yes.
It's the weirdest thing. But it's
we just raised our prices in December because eggs were like crazy. But nobody's flinched. Nobody says anything.
And everybody knows they're buying their own eggs at home and they're crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So it's even the best time to increase it. Yeah, because everyone knows. So yeah.
That's good stuff. Okay, so final question.
Yes.
What is the legacy that you want to leave behind?
Yeah, so I thought about that. I can't believe when I first started Sugar Bliss, I was like, let's just survive 3 years. Isn't that the 3-year mark? Like we made it, right? And now it's been 16 years,
That's so impressive.
Which is crazy, And so, what I think about like what the next 10 years, like I feel like food businesses being 16 years is like unheard of. Most businesses aren't that long in food. And so, with these packaged cookies that we launched in retailers, I've had so much support over the last 16 years with other women minority, organizations like the WBDC, other founders, and I just want to pay it forward, and so I really hope that, we bring Sugar Bliss as a nationwide brand and that people know, like, we're like Chips Ahoy. They're like, have you tried Sugar Bliss?
Yeah.
And that, we're giving back. A lot of these large cookie manufacturers, they don't use recycled packaging. They don't, they probably give back as a corporation, but I want people to know it when they buy the cookies. And so I'm hoping, we start off with 25 scholarships. I'm hoping we have like a cohort of 1,000 people that have gotten certified or helped their business. I feel like we, as women business owners, we need to help the next generation, Totally. So that's where my legacy, I want people to know that, Sugar Bliss brand is just not just a cookie brand, that we've helped other women minority entrepreneurs like grow.
Yeah. Women empowering women. Yes. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank
really
you.
appreciate your time and I love your story. So I know
you, Laurette.
A lot of our listeners are going to love it too.
Awesome.
Thank you.